Ladies and gentlemen, we are glad to start our conference Trafalgar Talks Accessing the UK Market. My name is Irina Ryabtseva. I am a community manager at Imaguru Startup Hub and host of the event. Today, together with Department for International Trade, GMB Partnership and Rocher PR Group, we will be talking about creating leads, branding yourself and creating awareness in the UK market. This webinar will provide useful information for all companies looking to enter the UK market. During our event, you will have the opportunity to listen and ask questions to our experts to discuss key questions and strategies on how to scale your business in the UK market. But before we start, I want to pay attention to main rules. You all have buttons Q&A. Please use it if you have questions to our speakers. We also have chat. You can use it to communicate with each other. Coronavirus has changed the reality and we are missing having offline events. That's why we will be happy to see your support in our chat room. We also have options to listen in English or Russian. So please use our translator if you need. And I think it's time to start. I'm ready to introduce our first speaker, Mehmet Basaran, investment advisor, British Consulate General in Istanbul, did services and support to potential investors and startups.
Good day, everyone. I hope everyone is safe and well. Let me try sharing my screen if I can do that. It's always very hard for me. So, yeah. It is not very well working. Can everyone see the screen now, or is it not working?
No, we can't see your screen now.
Sorry about that. Maybe is it possible if you can make screen share so I move on the slides so we can save the time? Yeah, that's great. Thanks. So as I said, my name is Mehmet Basaran. I'm working at as the senior inward investment advisor at the Department for International Trade. And I would like to talk to you about our inward investment services and how we are supporting investors and startups. So next slide, please. As a beginning, I would like to introduce who we are and what we are doing. As I said, I'm working at the Department for International Trade, and Department for International Trade is the official trade and investment body of the United Kingdom. And we support UK companies to export and overseas companies to invest in the UK. As you can see from the slide, our department is made of three distinct groups. So first group is the trade policy group, which is mainly working on the trade agreements, trade policies, etc. The second one is the UK Export Finance. It is an organization which provides financial assistance to the UK companies which are exporting to the international markets. And the third one is international trade and investment group. Our main aim, as said, is to assist the government and the companies to reach the export and investment targets. So we can move to the next slide. So as the IT, we are assisting the companies in many ways. I would like to mention that our services are totally free, without charge, and it's totally confidential. So we have dedicated teams, dedicated and professional teams, both in the UK and in the markets, like in Turkey, in Belarus, in Ukraine, in the US, and who are assisting, who are working with local companies and providing assistance to them. The companies can ask, as I said, the companies can ask incredible amount of information from us, gather incredible amount of information from us. The information that you can ask includes market research, links with the centers of excellences, information about regulations, tax, etc., immigration issues, employment issues, introduction with third-party service providers, you name it, about IP, etc., as well. So we are working right alongside with you, and we are actually providing support in all aspects of your investment process. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. And as well as our regular routes, we are also working with startups quite often. So that's the reason why the Department for International Trade has developed a new program, which is called Global Entrepreneurs Program. In basic terms, it's a mentorship program which actually provides advice and support to the startup companies to grow their businesses, raise some capital, and fund access to funding, and find routes to accessing the UK market in a better position. There is only one, let's say, basic criteria for this program. We want companies to be engineering companies, technology companies, to be honest. I'm not going to read all of those slides, so you can read it, and I believe Imaguru will be sharing them with you in a very short while. But please feel free to apply for it. We will always happy to work with new companies, new startups who are working on new technologies. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. So, as most of you are coming from the technology sector, I would like to provide some key headlines about the UK tech sector. As you can see, UK technology sector in the UK is literally sitting at the heart of the UK economy. It's growing way much faster than the rest of the UK economy, and it has a digital turnover of 184 billion pounds. The UK investment ecosystem is quite alive, quite vivid, and it is literally generating more IPOs and more unicorns compared to the rest of the Europe. So what we can, yeah, please go move on. And that's the reason, because the reason behind this is the UK consumers are very responsive to the new technologies. They are very responsive to cloud, AI, the data analytics, you name it. As you can see, we are ranking first in the whole Europe since the beginning of this, let's say, calculation. UK has created, so to speak, 77 unicorns in the whole process. Our biggest rival, so to speak, our competitor, Germany, is now sitting as 32, and we are actually, let's say, making the gap very well. And to be honest, we are not the ones who are saying that. We are not the ones who are calculating these. There's an organization, I believe we can call it an NGO, called Tech Nation, which every year they generate a report about the UK's technology ecosystem, and this whole statistics is coming from them. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. As an example of one of the, let's say, some of the tech unicorns in the UK, I believe most of you already know Revolut, which is a fintech company. They have started in the UK as a seed company, and they moved to a unicorn recently. Monzo is another fintech company. Darktrace is a cybersecurity, is more on the software side. And but what we are doing is, what I'm trying to say is, we are actually, UK was one of the best locations in the whole world, in the most starting as a seed and going to a unicorn. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. But this whole, let's say, moving to the unicorn process cannot happen without the accelerators, without our partners, to be honest. The accelerators, the programs, the scaling up programs are the main drivers behind this whole success. So as you can see, there are some, let's say, accelerators listed here. Techstars is a world-known accelerator program. Wire is another thing. Cylon is working on the cybersecurity side. And what we are doing is, if you would like to meet with those accelerators, we can definitely arrange those. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. And access to funding. Okay, so as you can see, in the end, the whole process, let's say, moving from seed or pre-seed to the unicorn, in the end requires some funding. So there are a lot of, let's say, funding opportunities in the UK: seed funds, angel investing investor networks, venture capitals, government grants, loans, you name it. And there are a lot of, let's say, organizations which are actually assisting companies to reach out those funding opportunities. You can see some of the logos here. UK Research and Innovation is the official innovation organization or engineering organization of the research organization of the United Kingdom. They are always, let's say, announcing new grants, new research opportunities for the companies. British Business Bank is another one. UK Transfer Network is another one. And you can see this UK, the, let's say, colorful one, British Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. This is the whole, let's say, investment ecosystem of the UK. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. I would like to mention only one of those funds. Just after Brexit, the government announced a new, let's say, industrial strategy. So we call, and together with it, they identified four, let's say, areas, four fields: AI and data being one of them, future of mobility, aging society, and clean growth are the other ones. So in order to provide assistance to those, and in order to provide growth in those areas, the government, the UK government, has announced this Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund. So if you are a company which is working in those areas, and if you are planning to expand your operations in the UK, or started operations in the UK, so I really would like to encourage you to apply for this challenge fund. It's great. It's literally allowing you to access the best skills, best universities, and best funding in the whole Europe. Oh my God, I can hear myself talking as if I'm the Trump on this one. Yeah, we can move to the next slide. Over speaking with great thing. I believe James and Joanna will kill me after that. But anyway, in means of the operational things, as you can see, the UK's corporation tax is sitting at 19%, and we are. It will stay like this. We believe that it will stay like this for a while, and it's actually the lowest corporate tax in the whole Europe. We have this incentive mechanisms called R&D tax credit and patent box. In very short, in a very brief, let's say, package, I would like to explain what they all are. R&D tax credit is an incentive which is actually targeting the companies which are doing some R&D in the UK. If you are doing some R&D, you can apply for an R&D tax credit and, let's say, spend, I don't know, £100 for your computer software, for your salary, for your electricity, for your rent, office rent, etc. But in the end, if you apply for this tax credit, you can deduct £230 from your tax liability. And after that R&D, if you bring out a patent, you only pay 10% from the profits of those patents, actually, not 19%. And the fourth one is seed enterprise investment scheme and enterprise investment scheme. Actually, this is one of the top points, which is very related with the startup community. This is not an incentive for startups, but it's an incentive for their investors. So let's say that I'm an investor, and I would like to invest £1 million to a startup company. So if a company comes to me and shows me that their certificate of enterprise investment scheme, and if I invest £1 million, I can deduct 30% from my tax liability because because of that investment scheme licensing, so to speak. So as you can see, the companies, the investors are generally try to invest in the companies which have SEIS or EIS certificates. These certificates, these schemes can only apply by the companies which have already established a presence in the UK. Yeah, let's move to the next slide. So I don't want to take too much of your time. That's the reason why I I would like to show this slide once again. Our services actually is quite vast. You can ask us incredible amount of information. I'm providing answers to the companies, both related with, let's say, their market opportunities, their regulations, and their personal lives as well. One of my clients actually asked me if they can bring their cat to the UK or not recently. But please feel free to contact us, and we will be glad to answer any of your questions. As I mentioned, our services are free of charge and totally confidential. Yep. And that's it. I would like to thank you all for listening. So I was very short and very quick because I would like to leave enough time to Joanna and James. But please feel free to contact either me or Ina Poltran, who is working at the embassy in Minsk. We will be glad to answer your questions. Thanks again.
Mehmet, thank you very much. Only one question I want to ask you. It's from our startups. One of the recent questions that I had talking with startup, he was asking me, how has investors' mood changed after the consequences of this year? Maybe there is a new sphere that investors in UK are interested in.
So this is a very good question. Actually, I read a report about this few days ago. Actually, the COVID-19 situation actually developed some trouble, caused some troubled times in the UK, but it's not related with the startup ecosystem. It's not related with the technology ecosystem at all. The companies, the investors, to be honest, are very active at this stage, and they are literally looking for new opportunities. Because think about this, all traditional methods actually gone idle. We are not using the old traditional methods when we are doing the business. So they are always trying to bring up new. We are always trying to reach out new alternative ways. For example, if your company is working on, I don't know, AI based, let's say, translation, for example. This is one company that we met during the Global Entrepreneurship Week last month. For example, this is actually quite an interesting opportunity for the investors. Or if you are working on healthcare, medtech. So if you are working on, you may be working on COVID-19, you will definitely get an investment there. So the investors are very positive nowadays, and they are really looking forward to bring up new opportunities, reach out to new opportunities in other markets. In the old days, I would definitely say that the investors are generally, let's say, limit themselves in the European markets or the US markets. But now with the COVID issue, with the Brexit especially, the investors are, let's say, looking at the other countries and try to bring new technologies, new companies to the UK through their investments. But there's only one thing that I really need to mention. I'm based in Istanbul, in Turkey, and I've been working with technology companies for the last seven years. And I assisted a lot of companies, very high tech ones, very deep tech ones, AI based, cybersecurity, you name it. I would easily tell you one thing. none of the investors invest in a company which has no establishment, which shows no presence in the UK. So if you are looking for an investment or get access to funding in the UK, then the first thing that you need to do is you need to have a presence in the UK. It can be a sales office, it can be a, let's say, independent company, but you need to be there if you would like to have access to fundings. But to just summarize, the investors are more, let's say, open to new companies than the last years, to be honest.
One more question that is brought from our today Belarusian companies must have access to European tenders, including the United Kingdom, in accordance with European Union requirements, in the form of tender documents for the tender. Access to this form is available only to UA countries and countries in association, Armenia, Georgia, and Ukraine. Since the UK is leaving the US, it is possible to simplify the requirements for participation of Belarusian IT companies in the UK tenders.
Okay, this is a hard question, and this is, to be honest, this is a little bit beyond my expertise. I would really suggest this question owner, this company, to contact me so that I can reach out to my colleagues in the UK so that we can try to get some answers about this. But I cannot answer this because it's a little bit technical and it's a little bit beyond my expertise on this one. But I will definitely try to assist them.
Vladislav, I want to say that you can leave your mail to us and we will find the answer and send you an email with a long answer to your question. I also want to say thank you for Mehmet and Vladislav also for his question. And I think that we can move forward. So our next speaker, Joanna Dodd, Managing Director, will be talking about Rochester PR Group, a market entry PR specialist. Joanna combines seeing around potential problems to propose creative solutions with the ability to deal with senior clients or high-level strategic, corporate, and reputation matters. Joanna, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to bring up my presentation. So thank you again very much for inviting me along. And Mehmet and James and I work together on various different ideas for clients coming into the UK. So I think a lot of what we have to say is very much linked. And in fact, quite a few of our clients, as Mehmet mentioned about the Global Entrepreneurs Programme, come from the Global Entrepreneurs Programme. So startups launching into the UK. Unfortunately, unlike Mehmet, what James and I go on to talk about, we are not free. We are confidential, but we are not free, sadly. But I guess it's our job now to try and convince you why we can both in different ways, but often combined and overlapping ways, be really helpful to you coming into the UK. So really what I'm going to try and say to you is that if you're launching into the UK and you want to grow in the UK, I really believe that you're going to need to do some PR, some marketing to help you achieve that. It's going to be very difficult to do it without spending and investing a bit in your company and your brand. So a very brief introduction to me in terms of why I can talk to you about this. My company has been going for 9 years now, and we only do market entry. That's all we work on. We work for clients across a very wide spread of client sectors, as you can see here. Tech is a very big one, where we help them with their first steps into the UK. We work for business brands and companies who are targeting consumers, corporate reputations, and sometimes when a company has something of a crisis on their hands. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to help those companies get adopted in the UK market. So we need to help change attitudes and behaviours of individuals to, for example, buy your product or your service. And that's what we're all about. In terms of the PR that we do, not knowing how many of you know PR particularly well, but you know, we have a very broad view of what PR actually is. So you know, yes, it's definitely you know, the public relations that you see in a coverage in a magazine, but it's also helping, for example, a Canadian company that is on the Global Entrepreneurs Program with their network, introducing them to the right people so they could test out their product, their service, talk to people, make friends with people, so that when they've launched, they actually already had that sort of community built around them to talk to people and to know what to say and know what to do. So whatever we do, our focus is always on making a business successful. So whether that's running a social media campaign for a client, as I say, generating coverage for them, or helping them put on events or webinars. We're just doing one for an embassy here in the UK, for example, from Finland, who want to attract education specialists to an education webinar. So everything is about making that business successful. And that's why, in a way, although we're not free, it's really important to think about investing in your company if you want to be successful. So in terms of what we would say about, you know, reasons why you might be considering not doing this. So I don't know whether when you saw this, you thought, actually, that's never going to happen. I don't believe I need to. Here are perhaps 4 examples of questions that we might hear. One is that I'm going to sell to people who already know me. The second could be that it's too expensive. The third, I don't use PR and marketing here in my home territory, so why should I need it abroad? And you know, why should I outsource this? Because actually nobody can understand our offering or solution or product as well as we can. So perhaps just some very quick answers to those to try and put those to bed at the beginning. I think it does depend. The first one, I'm going to sell to people who already know me. It really does depend if that's all you want to do. If you've got some great contacts in the UK that you 100% know are going to buy your product or service, then perhaps you're right. Perhaps you don't need to raise your profile any further than that. However, I'd question that slightly. If you want to go beyond that first initial pool, and most people have one company that they're going to sell to, you need to raise your profile, you need to get better known. And you also need to realize that you will be probably undoubtedly competing with other companies who are also targeting those, you know, those prospects as you. And if those companies are doing a better job, talking more loudly, saying that they're brilliant, saying that they're better than you, then it's going to be very difficult for you to sit back and not do anything and just let those people take your business. The second one, it's too expensive. It very much depends. I mean, of course, outsourcing any service is more expensive than doing it yourself. But generally, I think most of the entrepreneurs that we work with, they really don't have, at the stage that they come into the UK, they do not have PR and marketing expertise in their businesses. So you have to weigh it up where you could do it yourself, but actually that's a very expensive use of your time when you would be much better off doing the other things that are really important for your business at the moment. And also, I think it really depends what you are trying to achieve, how much business you're trying to get from the UK. So think of it as a percentage investment in your success rather than, you know, it's a wasted cost. I don't use PR marketing at home, so why should I use it abroad? Is something we hear a lot from a lot of companies. And that's because often in their home territory, say, for example, if I talk about clients we've got from the Nordics, it's really much easier to be much more famous in a smaller market. You can get into the national press much more quickly and get read about and get talked about. Here in the UK, it is a lot more competitive. And that's one of the reasons why when you come to the UK, you need to think about it. And lastly, perhaps a question about outsourcing. Nobody can understand our offering as well as you can in the company. And that's true, but we don't need to represent you. We need to know you well enough to be able to pitch you to journalists, to a network. We don't need to know you inside out. And another thing I would always say is that, you know, it's a really good piece of advice to keep things simple. A lot of tech companies try and almost beat, you know, the recipients of their messages with, we know this better than you, we're cleverer than you, we understand this better than you. And that's not really what you're trying to do. You're not trying to bamboozle them. You're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to understand your tech or your solution. And I think this is quite a good quote, because if you can't explain it simply, you know, the idea is that perhaps you don't understand it well enough. So don't think that your job is to compete with people here for understanding. Your job is to get your business understood as simply as possible. The UK is all about brands. I don't really know. I mean, we often talk about business culture here in the UK to explain it, how it's different to other countries. But as a sort of country, we've grown up with companies that, not just products or services, but companies that, you know, want to engage with people. They want to communicate. They want to get on and forge this mutual understanding, which is what PR is all about. So your company has a brand and a reputation, and you as a company leader have a brand or a reputation. And really your job is to make sure that that reputation is managed as well as possible to achieve your company objectives. As Mehmet's already explained, the UK is a great market, but you know, you won't be the first people to have noticed that. So a lot of other companies have also recognized the UK is great to be here, and they're also here. So it's got competitive because of the nature of being a great market already. And we have a lot of international tech companies coming into the UK all the time, which is great as an ecosystem. It's great for partnerships and things, but it does mean that you will be competing against other people, and you need to make sure that your company, your brand, stands out from your competition. Oh, that went a bit too quick. Hang on, sorry. This quote, I'm sure you've heard of it: people buy from people who they trust. And this, again, I think, sort of moving on from what I just said before, this is why the UK is very much in terms of brands and corporates, communicating with each other is really important. Trust is an important way that people will buy from people. And Jeff Bezos from Amazon's got a great thing, the way he says, you know, a brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I think in this day and age, when none of us are in the same room, we're all in virtual rooms or whatever, it's really important in this remote virtual world that you try and build that trust remotely, that you make sure that people can understand your brand as much as possible. So the things that we tend to do in the UK, as soon as somebody contacts me, and I'm not unusual, I'm sure James will say the same, and you know, many of our customers, clients would say the same. This is what happens. The first thing people do is they'll go out and Google you. You know, can they find any news about you? Can they see that you're active? They'll look for your company website. And are you a key person listed on the site? I know that's weird, but often if you're not, and you've got 5 other people, but you're not the one listed, you're not there, you haven't got a profile, that can actually diminish that trust that you're trying to build up. Then we'd look you up on LinkedIn. You know, have you got a great profile? Are you in English, actually? Are you talking to us? You'll say you're targeting the UK market, you want UK customers, but are you actually talking in English? And then we'd look at your company page as well. And is your company active? Is it focused on the UK? Again, with posts in English. And then also, depending on the business, I would look at your social media handles as well and see what you're talking about. So all of this says you've got to be discoverable. People have got to find it easy to find you. If you are emailing people or calling them on the phone or putting out any messages, you want people to find you really easily and go, great, this is adding to that story. This is adding to what I understood about this business. And this is very much linked, as I say, to how the UK thinks about business, how it tends to discover brands and companies. So we describe this a lot for our clients when we're talking about what we call the market entry journey. So, you know, if you think a company is perhaps not so well known at the beginning, and so you'd be down here on the bottom left, and your job and our job is help you become that trusted company where you have a client who wants to continue to buy your service, who trusts you, who stays with you, who might become a case study for you, encourage other people to want to use your product or service. And generally speaking, we do this in 2 ways. We talk about the head and the heart strategy. So starting with the head, that's really very much about making sure that, you know, you say the right things about your company, that you have the right credentials, you know, all of that. And the heart is the emotional side, which a lot of people think, well, surely that's not right for a B2B business, but it is. If you go back to what I was saying before, you know, we all want to know that the companies that we're working with are, you know, doing good things. Particularly this year, it's been really interesting how people's attitudes have changed to brands and corporates, and they're really responding to those companies that are engaging more with them, telling them what they stand for, and why they're a good ethical business to do business with, not just the solution that you offer. So the basics of steering your brand, this is taken from a great piece of research done by McCann, a global ad group. The basics of steering your brand and your company are the same, whether you're doing it at home or whether you're going into an international market. And those three things are making sure that you're relevant, that you're understood, and that you're consistent with what you're saying. And a great quote here from Microsoft: the basics are pretty much the same, but that doesn't mean it's easy, which is very true. It takes effort and it takes time. I think one of the interesting things about what's been happening recently is that consumers around the world are now trusting local brands more than global brands. This has been happening for some years now. It's been going up and up. And so I think, again, it comes back to what I was saying at the beginning, that you as an international brand targeting the UK market have to appear more local than you perhaps think. You have to be able to explain why you're here, why you're relevant to the UK market. And I also love this quote as well, which is, don't confuse the internet or social media with going global. It's very tempting to think that, you know, if you've got a website and you've got some social media, you're an instant global brand, but you're not, and there's still work to be done. Three things that I would recommend you think about, and obviously these are three things that we do for our clients, and you could, you know, very happy that you try and do them yourself, and if not, you can come and talk to us about it. But the three things you need to get right for the UK to be a success in the UK, to have a great profile in the UK, to attract business to you, is you need to make sure that you've got the right messages for the UK market. You need to work out exactly who you need to talk to in the UK. And then you need to think about the content you've got and where you're going to deliver that. So a little bit of detail on those. In terms of messaging, you want to think about what's your key message for the UK market. And it's really important that it's for the UK market. So it's got to be about your company, but it's got to be why you are relevant, why you're entering the UK, and why you want to help UK companies. And then typically you'll have other messages underneath that, which might be your sector expertise or your team or other messages like that. And then you'd have below that what we call the proof points. So that could be the facts and the figures that stack up to tell everyone why you're great company to do business with. But really, really important that you nail that umbrella messaging before you start reaching out to a UK audience. Then in terms of the audience, you need to start thinking about where you're going to find them and who those are. And this is really where local knowledge, which you can get obviously from Mehmet was explaining, from DIT, also from people like James and I that have worked in these industries before. It's really understanding what makes your marketplace different and why that's going to, who are the key people in that in your marketplace. So, have a think about all the different, try and work out who are the opinion formers. If you're trying to find new employees in the UK, then obviously you need to be talking to them. Where do you talk to them? How do you reach them? Something that James and I talk about a lot, the trade associations, professional associations, really useful for you starting up, building up your network in the UK. Some are much, much better than others. Some are really strong at introducing you to people. So think about who your audiences are and drill down into a lot of detail. One of the things we always ask our clients, who exactly are you targeting? What is the ideal client for you? What size are they? What sector they're in? Because without that knowledge, you're unlikely to be talking to the right people. And the last bit is to think about the content and the way that you're going to get that out into the marketplace. So if I start down the bottom with owned is really you as a company, what you own already. So that is, for example, your website. And that is, papers you've got or research or existing case studies. You want to have a look through those and think, are those useful to you for the UK market? Get some advice. Sometimes case studies travel really well and they can be really strong in the UK. Other times they don't work at all. They're not going to be understood. And that it's really important for you to work out what's going to work for you. I'd also say on your website, for example, be really careful about Google Translate. It doesn't really work. Be careful about your use of language, get advice. This is often where we start with a client, is making sure their messaging is right on their website. Make sure it's really relevant to the UK media. It's got to resonate with a UK audience, with UK eyes and ears. And that's really important that you don't put people off right at the beginning of your journey here in the UK. We're really polite, the Brits. We talk about this a lot. We're very polite. So if you were talking to me and you got my name wrong or my company wrong, or you said something that I had to work out what exactly you were saying, that's fine. We don't mind that at all. We're really forgiving. But where we're not so forgiving, weirdly, is in written. So anything written, whether that's LinkedIn or websites or emails, that's got to be really pretty good to make us feel, oh, this is a company that really understands me. So it's something that's just worth thinking about. And then around on the screen, and you can all look at it later, there are lots of other things that maybe you've done in your home territory that could be great. Maybe a brand ambassador you've got would work really well in the UK. So think about everything that you've already got that could be useful to you in the UK. Sorry. Then when you go on to engage with the UK, perhaps some other tips. Firstly is do something. I don't mind if you're doing it yourself and you don't outsource to us, but do something, because it really won't work if you just sort of put your website out there and say, we're here. You need to talk to people. You don't want to be a best kept secret. That's really not that helpful. People need to know you. And in order to do that, you need to understand the opportunity really for your company in the UK. So this is where, for example, like I was saying, know your market. Do you know your competitors? Do you know how the market works? Do you know what key times of year? Do you know what the key events are? This is all something that DIT can help you with, James and I can help you with, in terms of really making sure that you launch at the right time, that you know what people talk about, and that you've worked out, like I said before, in your messaging, why you're relevant. How are you relevant to this market? Who's going to be most interested? Why are they going to buy you rather than somebody else? As I was just saying, look at your collateral, make sure it's right for the UK market. Look at perhaps things that you did when you first launched your business. Could they be used when you relaunch into a new market? And then lastly, look at all those opportunities that I said about paid owned and shared media opportunities, and think about which ones could be most useful for you in terms of getting your messaging out there. Oh, my screen seems to have frozen. Can anybody, I don't know, no, maybe not. Anyway, don't worry. The next thing I was really going to say is, and I skipped the screen just a moment earlier, is about being adaptable. In these weird times, being adaptable is really key. We've had a lot of clients have to, change what they're doing, pivot slightly, but being adaptable is really key to your success in the UK market, which is why we only ever start with our clients on a project basis, because things change quite rapidly. They might get a first client in, and that means we might follow a slightly different route for them, or they might find interest coming from a different sector they didn't think, and then that's the way to go. So be prepared to be quite adaptable with your plans. And the last thing I was going to say is, of course, everybody will share our information. If you ever want to just pick up the phone or send us an email and ask us any questions, we're always going to be delighted to help you. So do get in touch. The earlier that you think about your market entry into the UK, the better, because we can always help people more at the early stages with their messaging, with their positioning, than actually further down the line. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. One more question. You last mentioned that about time, and I want to ask about how long does it take to start preparing to the entry in the market, like making your PR story here. When should startup contact you? A month before or 3 months before? Or...
Yes. Okay. So I would say if you think you're ready to launch, definitely not a month before. I would say 3 months before is good, because it gives us time to check that everything is in order. But then we also have clients, like I was saying right at the beginning about the Canadian client, where they actually just wanted to start on a very low sort of quiet level. They just wanted to start being introduced to people because they found that incredibly useful in terms of launching their tech product into the UK. So I would say yes. I mean, we do things where people contact us literally on this day, and we will have something up and running by the Friday. So Monday to Friday, we can do that. It's not the most successful. I think it's always better to have had time to consider what's right for the UK market to have had a chance to really think about whether it's the right time of year to launch, whether you've got the right messaging. But actually, from our point of view, we can get things up and running very quickly in terms of media contact and coverage. So often clients probably leave it a bit late and come to us going, we really need some coverage. We're trying to raise funds. We want to get noticed. Could you get us something in the next month? And the answer is yes, but actually it's always worked better with those where it's a much better planned campaign.
Thank you very much. So I think that we can move forward. Joanna, thank you. And I want to introduce our next speaker today. James Blackmore, Managing Director, will present the topic about GMB partnership. James, hello. We're glad to see you.
Very good. Yeah, likewise. Nice to see everybody.
Please, welcome.
I'll share my screen.
Yes.
This. There we are. Welcome everybody. Hopefully you can see the screen okay. Brilliant, thanks Joanna. So just a little bit about JMB Partnership context. I'm not going to go too much detail about us. Key for this sort of presentation is to give some tips and hints as to what companies can do when looking to sell in the UK market. But we are a company that works with international businesses, helping them sell here in the UK. We've worked with over 700 international companies, generating over £450 million worth of sales over a 15-year period of time. Very proud winners of something called the Queen's Award, which is, in most people's thoughts, one of the most prestigious business awards here in the UK. Ended up meeting the Queen for a couple of minutes, well, for 1 minute, speaking to her about my business, which was a very surreal moment. And I also I'm an export champion for the Midlands Engine region of the UK, which is sort of Birmingham area, helping companies from the UK export internationally as well, because obviously, you know, companies coming into the UK, we help selling, but also it's the same process for selling internationally. Our sort of services range from working on outsourced sales, such as telemarketing, LinkedIn campaigns, recruitment, and also some help and support in terms of that market entry service. First part of the presentation, and I'm going to talk about, in my opinion, why am I talking about startups? Well, any company, in my opinion, coming into the UK, even if they're some of the largest businesses in their own market, do need to think like a startup. The reason being is that unless you're a global player, where you have a brand that is recognized internationally, however successful you are in your own market, that won't necessarily replicate straight away here in the UK. So you do need to think about those days where in your own country, where you're probably now word of mouth and your reputation are probably your biggest generator of leads. When coming to a new market, things like PR are extremely important, getting your message out there, and also being proactive in generating your own leads. So really do think like a startup when entering the UK. This sort of area talks about this sort of cogs working together. Very much, in my opinion, you know, doing something on its own has limited results, whereas combining activities is the way to go, and very much social media, PR, a massive part of that. I particularly agree with Joanna's comments around, you know, first thing anybody does, if we make a phone call to try and speak to somebody, the first thing they will do is be polite, hopefully, and say, I'll call, you know, send me an email and I'll get back in touch, or call me back. While they're doing that, the first thing they do is to go on Google, look at someone's LinkedIn, look at someone's, in some cases, you know, business Facebook, depending on the type of business, Twitter, that type of thing, just to get a feel as to whether this business is suitable. And little things like not having a telephone number, not having an address, not having a presence on your website can put people off. I've got some examples I'll talk about later as to where companies have fallen foul of that. So what I was saying here is a combined approach really does work. First part of any project when you're looking to enter the UK for any market, when you're looking to sell to companies that may not have heard of you before, the most important thing is data. It's a bit of a cliche, but you know, cliches are often true, and very much having the right data, understanding who your ideal customers are, who actually do you want to do business with, will put you in a good position. a lot of the work we do with clients at the start of a project is to evaluate their best customers in their own market and find common threads and trends within that client base, and then replicate that with a UK database that matches it. From a risk point of view, selling to an existing type of audience, an existing type of organization is low risk compared to what we see some companies do. They come to the UK and say, oh, we've got this new product, we're going to sell that. That hasn't been tested, hasn't been evaluated, and it's high risk. It may work, which is fantastic if it does, but the safe option is to something that's worked for you in your own market. Look at the changes, look at the subtle differences in culture. It may be some political thing, and maybe some political difference, or whether it's just a way, like for instance, we had a client, they had a health supplement business and this was a Turkish client, and in Turkey, you have to pay to go and see a doctor. So the pharmacist was the person who was recommending these products. Whereas in the UK with the National Health Service, it's free at the point of entry. People will go and see a doctor to get that advice. And so their initial strategy to target pharmacists, because it was so similar to their existing plan, didn't quite work for them in the UK. So really look at adapting your data to existing clients, but do bear in mind local differences. Telemarketing, I'm slightly biased, but in my opinion, it's a great way of targeting effectively companies. It really is great to get feedback from decision makers because you're able to have conversations. I think where the industry has moved to in the past 15 years since we've been working in it is we were starting 15 years ago with lists of companies from A to Z and calling them as many times as we can. And that, to some effect, works, but it is quite a costly exercise and can be at risk of a return on investment. We're being a bit smarter about it, spending a bit of money on social media, spending some money PR, and then getting something published as an example, sending that published article out by email to a correspondent, and then follow up with a phone call. You'll get a much better response. They're much more likely to accept the call. I think it's the same with LinkedIn as well. If you've done a bit of groundwork by sending a connection request, by messaging somebody, you then follow up with a call, say a week later. Again, the ratio of chance that what we call the gatekeeper, the person who answers the phone will put you through, is greater because they're more likely to accept the call. So really do consider telemarketing as an option. And again, very early in the sort of first sort of sales process in the UK, it's a great way to get feedback. Some of the common themes of marketing material that companies we see and what we feel are useful marketing documents to have. It's in our opinion, almost this list is not necessarily, there's other things you can have to support it, but these are the sort of things that are working for clients at the moment. I've mentioned a PDF of published articles. Video content is very strong at the moment. People, having case studies, testimonials of their clients, talking about them in a quite a polished way is very strong. We sometimes would suggest that is published on YouTube. So one of the challenges for sending out content is that the trust, does someone trust that they click on a link? Whereas if the actual link is YouTube and they're able to go and search for it in a safe place, they're more likely to see that content. So do consider that. Case studies has always been for us the best way of, as much as a PDF talking about how great you are can be effective, actually a client saying how great you are has a lot more power. So do think about that, and getting articles such as white papers where you're talking thought leadership, that type of thing are really important in the UK in that lead generation space. LinkedIn I talked about earlier, again for very early stage companies. I think from a cost effective point of view, anybody could do this themselves, set up a paid LinkedIn account and start sending some messages out, start building connections. Obviously, when you don't have any connections at all in the UK, it's a bit of a challenge because they're less likely, those contacts are less likely to accept your connection requests. But it's amazing how quickly momentum can build. And as you do start building a network in the UK, again, it's more likely that people will then accept those requests. I do think it is worth reaching out to people who can help, such as Joanna, regarding profiles online. in terms of making sure that you are able to get connections. But you know, direct messaging is an option, and also Sales Navigator again is another great tool to building links and understanding not only the companies in the UK, but the specific decision makers, who they are, what their background is. You know, if you're on a call to somebody and you happen to know they went to the same, you know, they have the support the same football team as you, that helps on a call. That's an example. Other connections that you might have, you can drop into conversation. So LinkedIn is a great way, both from a research point of view, but also from a direct contact point of view. So just some last sort of quick tips, I guess, some things to consider. One of the things I always do when I'm a big believer of, you know, when normal times, so non-COVID times, traveling into a market, seeing what the local news agenda is. You know, for instance, when looking at the UK at the moment, obviously there's all things going on with Brexit and COVID, but also alongside that, there's, you know, a lot of political debate at the moment about the environment and green issues. So very much, you know, from understanding that, the government at the moment, who still have, at least in most people's books, 3 years left in the UK, are very much talking about a green economy. We're talking about diesel and petrol cars not being able to buy one from 2030. So these are the sort of things to listen out for. How do you fit into what the trends as to where an economy is going, and where does that fit into yourselves as an organisation? Are there opportunities that might bring? That might be, you know, again, recently announced is increased expenditure in infrastructure in the UK. The government are looking to sort of get out of the COVID economic situation by spending more. So again, that might give you an opportunity as a company. So really do look into whatever market you're going to, what that local agenda is. Simple things such as a UK phone number and a UK address. Setting up a UK limited company is actually very easy to do and very low cost. But what it does do, as Joanna mentioned earlier, it demonstrates that you're serious. You know, if you're doing all this effort, you're reaching out on LinkedIn, you're sending messages, but then there's no connection, there's no reference anywhere about any UK presence. You're up against UK competition, and it's going to be very tough for you. And I know one of the questions earlier was regarding submission for tenders and so forth. Again, having such a simple thing as a UK limited company address, telephone number will help you in the tender, because, you know, as part of any process, people do background checks, do look at you know, any local presence, and it does make a massive difference. I'm a firm believer in normal situation as well, that in terms of travel to the UK, building up your network, getting to meet new contacts. In the UK, in the tech space in London, pretty much in normal times, you could, you know, there's 5, 6, 10 events each night that you can attend to meet like-minded people. Hopefully in the end of 2021 and going forward, that can resume. But again, even in the current times now, there's opportunities online to connect with UK businesses. Again, there's conferences and events that are now all running online. They could be opportunities where you can actually meet other businesses. And the last sort of quick tip is around recruitment. As I mentioned earlier, we do offer recruitment services, but I do think even if you look to recruit yourself, spending that extra bit of, if you're in a fortunate position to employ somebody in the UK, spending an extra 20% on someone's salary can make a massive difference. The common mistake, I think I can call it a mistake in our opinion, that companies make is that a friend of a friend of a friend happens to live in the UK. They seem a great person and will do a great job for us. So yeah, that's important. Trust is important for your first employee. The problem is, if that person doesn't have sales experience and that person doesn't have industry experience, it's going to be very, very tough for them. And actually, you're wasting what salary you're paying them. Whereas actually, if you spend a bit more and you look to headhunt someone who's worked maybe for a competitor, but at least someone who's worked in your industry, I think it makes a massive difference. So do really, the first employee, again, is 100% of your business in the UK. Do really consider where you spend that money, because it is so important. It's the common mistake that we see with companies. Just a last sort of bit from me is more of an update since COVID. Obviously, if we were doing this presentation 12 months ago, we would be talking about coming over to the UK, face-to-face meetings, this type of thing, which just isn't obviously possible in a sort of business continuity basis at the moment. So there are things that we found in the marketplace. One of the issues, I guess, has been if doing telemarketing, trying to get hold of a decision maker, because there's less people working in their own office. There's a lot of home working at the moment in the UK. So we have seen LinkedIn and email open rates increase because people are spending less time in face-to-face meetings. They're spending less time traveling. There's a lot of studies talking about actually people working more when they're working from home. You know, people often think as an employee myself, you're often thought, oh, are people work? But generally, and I can see it with our own company, people are working longer hours. So they are opening more emails. And so that does provide an opportunity with content to really get hold of them. The one benefit from telemarketing point of view has been that companies are willing now to give out decision maker contact numbers. So normally it's very rare for a company to give out someone's mobile, whereas now it's more of a common, some still won't, but in a lot of cases we are able to get mobile numbers, which does mean that your then conversion rate going forward of having a conversation with them increases as you have a direct line to them. Specifically in tech, for our clients in that space, we've seen a big increase in spend where companies are realizing that maybe they have to make very difficult workforce decisions with the economy in terms of the number of staff and so forth. And they do need tech solutions that are going to help them still maintain levels of service that their customers expect. So we have seen, you know, schools, education establishments having to have some pupils working from home and have increased spend in that space several times over from their normal budget. So it has brought an opportunity there in that space. And it does provide, in my opinion, international companies at this stage some opportunities, because normally the sort of expectation if you're looking to sell something to somebody is that you go and visit them in person. But obviously at the moment, not many people are doing face-to-face visits. So it does enable you as an international company to have Zoom calls, and you won't be any different to other organizations that may be speaking to. So that is something to consider. And obviously it's very different on a sector by sector basis. At the moment, the hospitality industry in the UK is struggling. Unfortunately, a lot of those places aren't able to open, haven't been able to open for many months. So that's one extreme example of an industry that is struggling here in the UK. But there's a lot of cases where in some industries, including retail, especially food retail, have seen record increases in sales because people aren't able to go out to a restaurant. They're spending more on fine wine. They're spending more on good quality food. So that it has been some opportunities for some companies and for others not so. And also in medical, been a massive increase in spending in medical for obvious reasons, obviously with vaccinations and so forth. As an example, we're working with an Australian company who helps medical organisations make sure that fridges are kept at the right temperature, which at the moment, obviously, we've seen massive demand for that company because the numbers of products needed for a mass rollout of a vaccine has increased. So just a bit of an update in very current times. Obviously, we're hopeful that things will go back to some sort of normality ASAP. Just a couple of examples of our clients. We're very proud to work with companies such as Joanna and Rochester, a great partner of ours, and also DIT. We've worked for many years with them, and a great place to go if you need any information on the UK, also maybe where to set up in the UK, a great resource to enable to help you do that. And just lastly, my contact details. I presume the presentations can be sent out afterwards, and happy for mine to be done. Brilliant. Thanks so much.
James, thank you very much. It's quite interesting fact that in Belarus, entrepreneurs prefer to use Facebook the most, but I think that your entrepreneurs prefer to use LinkedIn. Yes, it's really true because sometimes when our startups speak with other investors, and investors send them links in LinkedIn, and they do have a Facebook, because I don't know why, but our community are always in Facebook and sometimes in LinkedIn. I also want to ask a question that I asked Joanna. When should startup contact you? Because I think that there are too much work to do.
Sorry, what stage is,
When should startup contact you to start working?
I mean, obviously we would say as soon as possible, but I mean, I think in reality, there's some groundwork that can be done. I think companies can look at how their presence is perceived online. There's things they can do in terms of showing that UK presence. You know, as I mentioned, setting up a limited company in the UK is very, very straightforward and very cost effective with relatively low risk. You know, the capital investment can be from £1 or even less, I believe. So, you know, those are sort of things that I would consider, because again, if you have a product that or a piece of software or technology that is available already, you are going head to head with people with established bases in the UK market. So you do need to show the market that you have that. Obviously, if you have something that's completely different to the market, that is very innovative, that's less so. Obviously, it's still important in my opinion, but you will sort of get by through the innovative product. But it's really on a case-by-case basis. But I think there's a lot of groundwork that can be done. But you still want, you know, simple things, even if you're thinking of not entering the UK until 2022, as an example. I would suggest spending 6 months trying to build up some LinkedIn presence, to start sending messages, to maybe putting thought leadership or content on your profile. I think PR is a great way of building those first sort of connections and contacts. So really do consider that at an early stage to build the process. It's almost like making sure that when you do put the time and resource and look to employ someone in the UK, that you've done that groundwork, because you'll get much better results.
Thank you very much, James. And also some participants wrote that they want to have your presentation. And Joanna, please, welcome. Yes.
I was just going to say, I just wanted to answer your question on Facebook, because I think it's a really interesting one. And it's one that we find a lot with international brands, is they use social media platforms differently than we use them in the UK. And I think that's one of those challenges to understand. But certainly Facebook in the UK is definitely seen as a consumer facing profile. So we run across Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and LinkedIn for clients. We run their sort of campaigns. And I just, you know, what James has said, LinkedIn is, if you haven't got a LinkedIn profile, I think it would be one of the best things you could do. If you are on Facebook and you're trying to enter the UK, create a LinkedIn profile, because I don't think any business will look for you on Facebook in that sense. I mean, if you're consumer facing business, of course, that's where it works as well. But LinkedIn for you as an individual running a company or a senior person in a company, that is where most, you know, B2B sort of conversations would happen. And Twitter is also extremely useful for that. Whereas, you know, we sometimes have some clients saying we don't use Twitter in our country. Go, fine, but use it in the UK. It really works. So I think that sort of advice in terms of Facebook is really important to give you just a better chance of engaging with people. So just.
Thank you very much. So I think that we should move on because we have time. Yeah, and guys, we have been listening to our speakers for an hour, and I think it's time to practice our English. With warm applause, I'm welcoming Inna Poltaran, Economic Diplomacy Officer, British Embassy in Minsk. Inna, hello. We're glad to see you.
Hi everyone. I hope you you can hear me. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I would like to pay your attention to some essentials for beginners. If you expect me to give an English grammar lesson just now, it's not the case probably, but language is important, as Joanna mentioned in her presentation. If you plan to access UK market or just go working globally, it's really important to start studying English if you didn't start it already. But please think about it. Even if you think you can speak fluently, there's always a room for development. I'll try to share my screen, or there are only 3 slides. Irina, if you can share it, what's the best?
Or if I ask my technical specialist to share it, okay? All right, maybe we'll have 2 minutes and I will share them.
But if it's not possible, I can just talk you through.
We will have 3 minutes to do it, okay? Or
okay, whenever it's ready. Anyway, I will continue talking because I do not have much information for you to share. It's just to remind you of 3 key elements of English grammar. It's past perfect, it's present simple, and it's future continuous. What is past perfect in terms of when we relate it to our activities? We used to have a kind of ideal environment for IT companies in Belarus, or at least it was presented like a perfect environment. It's not the case anymore, and I doubt it was totally perfect. So let's leave past perfect in the past. And what we have now, we have present indefinite, actually, not present simple, present indefinite. Nobody knows what is going to happen in future. Nobody knows what challenges companies, startups, IT community will face even tomorrow. So our view is that it's a good time, and we have a lot of opportunities open to you currently in current challenging global environment affected by COVID. Think differently. Look at the UK market. Probably you will find even more opportunities for yourselves than you can imagine. And it's, believe me, it's much easier than you can imagine. People think often that, oh, it's difficult, it causes a lot of troubles, we should have a lot of documents, it's very expensive. Just ask us. You have the British Embassy in Minsk. You have me to assist you. You have Mehmet, who is always willing and to help and supporting. We have a lot of, well, not a lot of probably, but some cases to share. Probably will arrange a separate event with telling you success stories who already tried to access UK market and who already tried it, and it's not that difficult. So you will have in front of you future continuous, believe me. So I'm not sure whether I can share the my contacts now. But anyway, if not, I did try. Oh yes, they are. Can we have the last slide, please? Here are my contacts. You can reach me on all messages. You can use emails. If I am not confident enough to answer your questions, I will be able to pass them to Mehmet or to London, to appropriate departments. And believe me, you will get answers. Probably we wouldn't be able to assist you in all cases, but you will get all information necessary for you. So that is basically what I wanted to say. There was one question in the chat that I picked myself in the beginning. This is about sanctions. We can discuss it separately if you contact me by email, but the general message about sanctions is that we can't issue the confirmation letter about targeted sanctions in Belarus to all companies. But if your partners in the UK or customers or clients or whoever would like to get an information about sanctions, whether they can deal with you, whether they can enter into contracts with you. So please feel free to share our contacts with them, and we'll respond them directly. We'll provide all information necessary about targeted sanctions, and that most companies like IT companies or startups, they are not under sanctions at all.
Thank you very much, Ina. I also want to read this question to you that was about sanction. And I have another question about some exams that, you know, there are lots of exams to check your English skills like TOEFL or IELTS. Is it impossible to have this diploma of this exam?
I didn't get the question right. Do you mean that where they can have this exam, or?
Is it impossible to have this exam? Or, you know, for example, that you have B2 or C1 and it's enough? You shouldn't just have...
I'm not quite sure I can answer it right now. What I know exactly that there are centers in Minsk that are authorized to take those exams, and language companies authorized, language schools authorized to arrange classes to get prepared for those exams. As far as I know, International House and Mulberry Club, they were involved into those exams. Probably other language schools, I'm not quite sure. But if you send me an email inquiry about that, I will find out more. But as far as I know, if the exam requirement is listed in Tier 2, I believe, visa requirement, there's no way to avoid it. You should, if it's written there, you should have the exam passed. You'll have to do it.
Okay, thank you, Ina, very much. And I think that we can move.
May I chip in actually on two things about sanctions question. We also experience almost the same thing here in Turkey as well with some of our Turkish clients as well, and as Ina told, it is somewhat a little bit, let's say, not we cannot prevent something like that, and we cannot provide some kind of a, let's say, a letter or a reference letter, but we sometimes provide a factual letter to the clients for the banks, etc., for the government organizations, so that they can be aware of that the company is is known by DIT. It's sometimes useful, it's sometimes not, but this is something that we need to discuss. But in our cases, we sometimes realize that this is generally related with the subsectors that the company is working on. For example, if they are working on the, let's say, that question came from a fintech company. If they are related with the, if they are working on the payment systems or financial advice issues, then it's generally not related with the sanctions at all. It's related with the licensing that needs to be gathered in the UK. For example, if you are working on a financial advice subsector, you need to James, please correct me if I'm wrong there. They need to get approved by FCA, right? In order to operate. So it's not related with the sanctions at all. And about the visa, let's say, requirements, about the exams, just like Ina said, it's a deal breaker. If you don't get a, let's say, required exams, IELTS score, etc., you cannot get approved from a visa application. And I would like to add one last thing about the timetables. This is actually quite important for us, for DIT. We always prefer to get in touch with the companies when they develop the idea of investing or setting up a presence in the UK. So as early as possible, because we always, let's say, gather some, let's say, inquiries from companies saying that we need to be there tomorrow, literally something like that. But the information that we provide, the reports that we provide are all tailored, and it generally takes some time. For example, the companies that came yesterday, that asked me questions yesterday, I can only provide the answers that they asked me, like by the end of January or something like that. So it's always better to get in touch with us, with the whole team here, as quickly as possible, as early stage as possible, so that we can start assisting you in the early stages, and we can shape your, let's say, establishment in the early stages. And just remember one thing, as the UK government, we don't want you to be we don't want you only to be in the UK. We want you to grow from the UK as well. The UK government has this motto: UK is a springboard for growth. So we want you to be here. We want you to reach out to the international markets from the UK as well. But there is one thing, there's one small, let's say, catch there. We don't want you to leave your home country as well. We want you to stay in Belarus as well, so that you can bring some, let's say, benefit to your home country and start assist the growth there as well. So that's the whole thing that I would like to mention.
Thank you very much. And you know that the time flies very fast, and I think that it's time to the closing words from you, and saying the next steps, what we have to do next.
From me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. So as I said, you have our email addresses. You will have our presentations. So please feel free to contact us if you have any questions, if you have any plans, if you have an idea, to be honest, in expanding to the UK market. We are here to help you with everything, in every force that we can, and we will be glad to reach out to you guys. Cheers. Thank you very much.
Can I add something to this positive closing note?
Yes. Okay.
So a very important message. We are planning to arrange at least three more events in January, February, and March. So please keep in touch. Please express your interest to the organizers if you would like to participate. And if the epidemical situation permits, we'll probably have those three events, half offline, half online. I can't tell you now how, but it will be based in Aymaguru if the situation permits. And I promise we have something interesting for you, including about funding, including about protection of intellectual property, and more interesting things. So keep in touch and get registered for our events. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I also want to say the closing note, I think. Guys, thank you very much for being with us today. We hope that the next year we will see you in our hub. Hope coronavirus will end. And we wish you health and good mood. Have a productive day today and see you soon.
Stay safe. Take care.